Welcome back. You're watching 101. We're talking with the founder of the World Economic Forum, Dr. Klaus Schwab. Dr. Schwab, what were the founding or defining moments, if you like, of the World Economic Forum? What are the stories that really stick in your mind?
I think the first key defining element came in 75, 76, when there was the oil crisis, the tension between the Arab world and the West. And I took the initiative to create a meeting between Arab leaders and European, American business and political leaders. And I had such a success. 2,000 people came. And I think it was a very important cornerstone in building new relations at that particular time between those parts of the world. So it was a defining move because it changed the World Economic Forum from a European organization into a global organization. Then I think in the late 80s we played a major role in the European unification process. We were as a platform for quite a number of important first encounters. What struck me personally most was maybe a positive and a negative thing. The positive was the role which we played in the South African reconciliation process, being the first platform where de Klerk, the former president, and Mandela spoke together to the world community. That was really a great moment. A more, let's say, negative experience I had after having been involved for so many years in the Arab conflict, the Arab-Israeli conflict, when we were very close after Taba to a peace accord, and the peace accord should have been announced in Davos, and instead of a very conciliatory meeting, we had a meeting where Shimon Peres told Mr. Arafat at the end, "I thought I would come here for a marriage, and I see I'm here for a divorce." So this was, after having worked so hard for that meeting, that was probably the biggest disappointment which I had.
You are now essentially friends with world leaders and people who influence the world. How is that? I mean, you have personal interactions with presidents and prime ministers. How has that changed your view of politicians, perhaps to influence the way you approached world politics?
I would say it makes you very humble in the sense that you see that all people who are very top in the press and stars in reality are people who have families, who have concerns, who have worries. You are impressed and you are not impressed, but my job is not to be so much to be oriented towards people, but towards the issues on the global agenda. The World Economic Forum has a role to play in our world today to shape the global agenda, to look at the future. So I'm more, let's say, intellectually, personally preoccupied with issues and not so much with persons.
But there must be some who've impressed you over the years. Who are the leaders that really have said, these are remarkable people?
I would say three people. Or four people. First, Nelson Mandela, of course. He's a star or darling of everybody, but I had the chance to work very closely with him. Lee Kuan Yew, Shimon Peres, and Raymond Barre, the former French minister, because he was a mentor and he helped me very much in the early phases of the forum, and he was a great intellectual. Those were the people, and I was always thinking, what makes really a great leader? What do those four people have in common? And I would say today, if you want to be a global leader, you have to have four characteristics. The first one is you have to have a soul, which means a mission or values and orientation. Second, you have to have a heart, passion or compassion. Third, you have to have a mind. You have to be, I mean, you have to understand what's going on. You have to have brains, that's clear. And fourth, you have to have very good nerves. You have to be relaxed. And I think those four leaders, even if they impressed me in different ways, but those four leaders, I think they integrate all those four components which I just described.
How have you found the United Nations? Because you worked a time at the UN, you've had a lot of dealings with the UN. As an organization, I mean, you have a lot of more freedom in some ways at the World Economic Forum. How do you find the UN to deal with?
I think the UN is certainly an indispensable organization, and here I think we have to look at the differences between the UN and the World Economic Forum. The UN is a platform for negotiation. The UN is a platform to come up with short-term policies for specific issues. The UN is an organization of governments. We, the World Economic Forum, we feel that the big issues in the world cannot be solved by governments alone or by international organizations or by business or by NGOs. What we need is cooperative platforms.
Who is coming to the World Economic Forum now? Who have you managed to attract that you can say you're really proud of?
I think everybody is coming. I mean, we are in the fortunate situation that now people from the outside, they look and they feel the stars. For us, I have banned the word star or protocol. That doesn't exist inside the forum. We have established ongoing relations with most top governments in the world. We try not to look so much who is now a celebrity. We look at what is a person doing to advance certain issues in the world. I give you an example. There was a lot of publicity about some people from Hollywood, like Angelina Jolie and so on, whom we had invited. But we didn't invite them. We don't need those people for the glorification of the World Economic Forum. That's not our style. But those people are really engaged into, and genuinely engaged, into some of the issues which are serious issues for the world, malaria or AIDS and so on. So that was the reason why I invited them.
Is there a bit of a catch-22 here? Because as you say, you try to keep the forum very much a sort of down the line, non-star, non-celebrity kind of event, and yet you see the impact that having someone like an Angelina Jolie come along can have. I mean, is it a time to rethink the strategy and perhaps say, let's get it out on the map with the big names?
No, big names usually are big actors. I mean, not actors in the sense of Hollywood, but
big players, yeah.
They are big players in the world, and we need them because we want to have impact. But we certainly will look very carefully at who is a big player and who is just a celebrity. If he's a big player and a celebrity, that's good.
You're obviously very concerned with making sure the next generation carries this mandate of change and progress, and you have the young global leaders set up now as well. Tell me about that.
I think it's a very important group. What we are doing now is building up a group of over 1,000 people from politics, business again, arts, civil society, religious leaders, under the age of 40, but already being in very powerful positions. When you look at decision-making in the world, particularly at political decision-making, you have a situation which is characterized first that those people are all 50 and older, and they are in aging countries like Europe, they are more and more dependent on an aging electorate. So the tendency is more and more to preserve what has been established. and not to look forward. And what we want to do with those young global leaders, we want to make them a conscious, an agent for the next generation. And here we are building up quite a number of activities.
Where do you see the World Economic Forum down the road, say perhaps in the next decade? What would you like to be saying, this is what we've achieved?
I feel the key is that the world relies on an organization which integrates all stakeholders. So it has to be a private organization. It cannot, since it is, let's say, multi-stakeholder, it cannot be owned by business or by governments and so on. So my wish and my drive now is to make what I have built up sustainable, to make sure that the necessary institutional processes are installed. I'm the founder. I have directed and driven this organization for 35 years. I will do it for some years to come. I feel very healthy. But I think the key is now to make it a real institution.
How would you like to be remembered?
I would say as a creative person who helped to install new ways to think of global issues, and global and of course also the regional and national issues, to find new ways to the difficult problems which we have to solve in the world.
So Dr. Klaus Schwab, I wish you luck with that. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Khan.
Thank you, sir.